Joining me on the program, she is a speech-language pathologist at the Niagara Children's Centre, part of our Help Kids Shine campaign. Hello, Angelina Cook. How are you?
I am good, Tom. How are you?
I am fantastic. How long have you been a speech pathologist?
I'm in my 21st year of working here at the Children's Centre.
What drew you into being a speech-language pathologist when you were back in school? Why did you decide to go that career path?
Well, I always had an affinity for languages. I did an undergraduate degree in linguistics, and after speaking with professors and moving further into the program, discovered speech-language pathology and was able to volunteer at a couple schools and centers where I went to university in Ottawa, and I just fell in love with the profession, helping kids and teaching them how to communicate and communicate effectively with other people, especially when they, have other delays or diagnoses that sometimes, put some obstacles in the path of learning to talk.
So a speech-language pathologist at the Niagara Children's Centre, in broad strokes, what do you do there? What is the service you provide?
Well, the Niagara Children's Centre is a lead agency for our local preschool speech and language initiative, which is Speech Services Niagara. So most of our speech-language pathologists are housed in the Niagara Children's Centre, although Speech Services Niagara also has some satellite sites across the Niagara region. Our speech-language pathologists are working with children anywhere from birth, essentially, because we help do the screening in the hospitals for the infant hearing program. We have 3 communication disorders assistants that go out to the hospitals to do the screenings in the hospital. So right from birth up until entry into senior kindergarten. So we could be working with children who have hearing loss, children who have delays in starting to talk and building their vocabulary, delays sometimes in comprehension. We know that some children have difficulty understanding language. I think oftentimes people imagine a speech-language pathologist working on correcting speech sounds, which is definitely part of what we do, but we are working with children who may also have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and helping them build their social communication and learning to communicate with peers and other caregivers. It really is that foundation of all communication, whether it is understanding, being able to express themselves in full sentences when they come home at the end of their day in junior kindergarten, to be able to tell their parents what happened at the end of the day and in a way that they can understand. Working with children who maybe have experienced stuttering and helping them to have more fluent speech when they're communicating.
I can only imagine, as someone who's a communications professional, and we get frustrated when that we feel our point isn't getting across, that if you are a child, though, and you feel that every day, that you aren't able to properly communicate, and at a young age when before writing skills or typing skills are available, this is the primary way we communicate. We speak, we talk. This is something that we pick up and we learn from infancy. We remark on how children who are, oh my gosh, they said their first word, they're 10 months old. Mm-hmm. This is how innate it is in human nature. So I can imagine how great it must feel when you can help a child break through a barrier then.
Yeah, one of the best compliments I get from parents as I run into them further down the road, or once they've sort of graduated from our program, is if the child, if the parent says to me, they won't stop talking now. And I think, well, you know what? That's great. I love to hear that, because that's really what we hope for, is that we want them to be able to tell those stories and use their voice to ask questions and continue to learn. And sometimes it's their voice, sometimes it's augmentative communication systems, but we want them to really be able to interact with, everybody throughout the daily routines, whether it be at home or at school, at grandma's house, that they really have that ability to engage, because, it's part of what we do as human beings is talk to each other, and certainly, for parents to hear those first words come along, or see their child interact with another child on the playground, and being able to build those friendships, which are often based in communication and play early on, it really is rewarding.
Is there an extra challenge, perhaps, in a family that comes to you where English may be a second language, does that provide an extra barrier, or because it often involves sound and comprehension that it's not as much of a barrier as we think it is?
As I would say, I wouldn't really look at it as a barrier, because I think having more than one language is actually a really good thing. We know that it builds the brain in a very different way than children who are learning one language. We do employ interpreters when we need to with families, just to because families and parents play a big role in our therapy. We can only see children at the most once a week, and really language happens every day. So having the parents at the table or in the room with us, we're able to demonstrate the things that we do, and we give the parents activities to carry forth at home. So in that idea of a barrier, we look to having an interpreter come in so that we make sure that what we're communicating to the parents as well is understood, so that they can carry on those activities at home, because that's the best way that we can move towards success for a child's communication. And we do encourage families where English might not be their first language to communicate in their mother tongue with their child, because we know that from research, parents who are speaking their first language to their child are generally speaking in a more natural way, with a better structure of grammar and vocabulary, because it's the language that they've known first, and it's going to have the most natural type of interaction between the parent and child. And we want, for first and foremost, for the child to have a solid foundation of language, and that's best built on something that the parent knows best, because they're doing a lot of that support and communication every day at home. And then as children move on to school and their exposure to English increases, they have a strong foundation to build upon. And so we do encourage parents to speak their first language to their child, and we support the parents in doing that. And then as they move into an environment where there's more English exposure, we can again give them different strategies for how to build the language in those different language settings.
It's interesting as well, because as you said, you had a linguistics background.
Yes.
So when we think of a foreign language, we often think of French or Italian or Spanish, and how there's slightly different inflection or how we pronounce words differently. But if you go over to East Asia, for instance, tonal language, I mean, the language and how they speak and how they communicate, total aside from your job, is completely different.
Yes.
On how it is spoken. It's just amazing how we have developed different languages around the world and how different they sound.
Yes.
As you said, one of the most important things is for parents to be involved. As you can only see a child how often? Just once a week?
That would be probably the most for most cases. It's very rare that we would see a child twice a week. In order to manage our wait lists, we often see children weekly for maybe 8 to 10 weeks, and then they would go on rest, and then that way we're able to bring another family up off the waiting list. And sort of move through to see and service as many families as we can. And so Yeah, and then some families, you know, we might see them once a month. We really try and work with the family schedule as well, because, you know, there's parents that are working shift work or, you know, or having trouble getting out to the center. So we may occasionally see a child in the daycare for service, and we have lots of service delivery models because we want to find what's best going to suit the family and the child within what we can offer and the means that we have to offer service to the children as well.
Angelina Cook, our time has come to an end. A pleasure speaking to you, one of the speech-language pathologists at the Niagara Children's Center. Thanks so much for your time today, and best of luck.
Thank you, Tom.
This is part of our Help Kids Shine campaign. You can go to our website, 610ckTB.com, if you want to see the 12 ambassadors that are representing the Niagara Children's Center for our 2017 campaign. Now, here's how you can help. You can donate online, 610ckTB.com/HelpKidsShine. You can become a Help Kids Shine Club monthly giving club member by calling 905-688-3550, or you can also drop by the Niagara Children's Center to see the miracles that go on inside, and you can donate on site. And coming up at the end of the month, the Help Kids Shine plasma car races taking place on Wednesday, May 31st from 4 to 7 p.m. Ballhockey.com in St. Catharines, 16 Melbourne Avenue. Teams of 4 adults will race on their plasma cars to raise funds to be added to the Help Kids Shine campaign tally.